Hello, it's always puzzled me when you look at derelict land. What do you see? You see luxuriant green weeds, growing tall, luscious, glossy leaves, flowers, lots of insect life. And yet, if you test that soil for nutrients conventionally, and you're looking for the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium levels, you would get a reading that would be very low. You would find that these levels were very low in that soil. And the result would be that you should apply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to bring up the levels, and then you could retest the soil and you'd see that yes, you have brought up the levels to a respectable amount. And yet, if you test the weeds' nutrient levels in their sap or in their tissues, you'd find that they've already got very high nutrient levels. In other words, they've been able to access nutrients in the soil that were supposedly not there. And that's always puzzled me, because in conventional growing, you test the soil, you analyse for nutrients, and you make an application assessment, and you apply those nutrients, and you raise the nutrients that way. And it seems to me that we need to find out what the weeds are doing. And recently, through the research that's been done in regenerative growing the last few years, the puzzle's been solved. And the answers are very important because they allow us to grow in a much more effective way, much cheaper way. What the weeds do is when their seeds germinate in the soil, they bring with them quite often bacteria on their seed coat, or there may be bacteria in the soil, and also fungi. And they immediately, once they germinate, are colonized by these bacteria, and they form an association. And the minute that the weeds are able to germinate and have emerged with a seed leaf, those seed leaves photosynthesize and they start to pump sugar out of those roots that they make and feed their newly developing colonies of bacteria and fungi. So the fungi and the bacteria form an association with the plant that is mutually beneficial. It's symbiotic and very, very efficient. And that symbiosis is an ancient, millions of years old system which allows plants to grow in difficult situations, trees to grow in woods on poor soil, and crops to grow as well. So what's happening there is that the bacteria and the fungi are actually doing the work of, first of all, mining the phosphorus and the potassium that never showed up in the test, because they're able to dissolve things, as I showed in a video recently with lime and vinegar, about nutrients being insoluble and then made soluble by bacteria's acids. And that nutrient is then given to the plant in a very efficient way. And the nitrogen that didn't show up in the test is actually also present in the soil, in the atmosphere of the soil. 78% of the atmosphere that we breathe is nitrogen gas. And the bacteria in the soil, some of them fix the nitrogen for nothing and are able to pass it to the weeds. So the weeds can grow luxuriantly in apparently very derelict, arid soil. And this solves the puzzle. So what we're doing here is using the regenerative system. Our plants are given the correct inputs, the correct basalt dust. The soil is prevented from becoming oxidized by using a continuous cover crop or green manure crop. And as a result, the bacteria and the fungi form a very efficient system. It's interesting, when we try and simplify nature, we end up making it less efficient. When we watch nature and we copy it, we find it's very efficient and very complex.